Do you see my screen, Randy?
Yes, I do.
Okay, all right, cool. All right, so let's get started. What I'm going to show you today is, like Randy mentioned, is a TIS selection tool. So it's the selection tool for all the Siemens automation parts. Siemens does have the PDF catalogs like always, but this tool is very easy to use. It's very useful. It makes sure that everything you've laid out for your parts list, everything fits correctly, and we didn't miss out on any accessories or any little parts, right? So this is how it looks. Again, it's designed the same way as TI Portal. So on the left-hand side is the main navigation, project view and portal view, same option like we have in TI Portal. And I'm running it on a virtual machine on the cloud, so it's kind of little slow. So just bear with me. So this is the main welcome screen. So as soon as you open up the software, the selection tool, this is how it looks. All right. So this is the selection tool. If I click new device right here, it gives me option of a lot of devices. So all my controllers, all the PLCs, remote IO, all my HMIs, all industrial PCs, G120, S120 drives, VFDs, controls, all the cables for Profibus, Profinet, little connectors, industrial communications. It's all the Ethernet switches, wireless Wi-Fi devices, all the software, so TI Portal software or any other software you guys are looking for, power supply, UPS backup for power supply, cymatic ident, it's the RFID, energy distribution and measurement, so the 3VA breakers, the little panel meters, Internet of Things, condition monitoring, any other devices, and this is added in the latest version. It's the safety evaluation tool. So if you're doing a fail-safe safety application, you can use this tool. And again, the software is free to use. So anyone can download, install it on your laptop, and run it. Let's go ahead and look at the controllers, and we'll start with controllers. So here are all the options. So as you can see, new controllers, which are the S7-1200 and 1500, and then the older ones, 300 and 400 are also here. There's some distributed controllers, software controllers. So there's a long list, but what I usually like to do is use the navigation up top. So if I click basic controller, I can see the S7-1200. If I click advanced controller, I see three options: distributed controller, software controller. So if you want to make your laptop or your PC a PLC, advanced drives controller for motion control application, and the basic logo. Let's go ahead and start with the basic controller. So I'm going to select the S7-1200. So it opens up this page. There is two things here that I want to show you. Is in case if you have a fail-safe application and you need a safety CPU, what's pretty nice is whether it's standard or fail-safe, if you select the fail-safe, the CPU is one single CPU. There's a little yellow lines that come up on the CPU, but you don't need a second CPU for the fail-safe. The second thing is this Psi Plus Extreme. So if you have any application that requires more ambient temperature ratings, so minus 40 C to plus 70 degrees Celsius, it has different coatings for different chemical and other stuff and condensation. So if I go ahead and select this here and go to 70 degrees, and if I go to my configure tab for configuring my hardware, you will see everything is Psi Plus here. So all the options now change to Psi Plus. So let me go back to my properties and change the temperature back to 45. Make sure it unchecks that and go back to configure tab. And now I have all my basic PLC options. So as you can see, there is 5 different flavors of the 1200 PLC. And then each of them has 3 different CPUs for standard applications and then 2 for safety. So what I usually like to do is just go to the 1215 PLC. You select that and double click. It will open up for any accessories options. So I'll make sure I select the memory card. And then here is the drop down for all the different memory card options for the 1200 CPU. So in case you have a 4 meg card and you're looking for a 24 meg or 256, then you can just simply select the right card from here and then click OK. So it added the CPU. Now you can notice I can see this until 9, right? And the CPU starts at 1. So it tells me I have 8 slots that I can add IO cards for my CPU. Let's go ahead and for a second, go ahead and select this and change it to 1212. So if I double click again, it's automatically going to change it. And if you notice now, I only have 2 slots. If I do that for a 1211 CPU, I have no slots. So that tells me if I select the 1211 CPU, I can have no IO cards on it, right? Let's go ahead and select 1215 back. The nice thing about all new devices is they all have Ethernet, and all new devices from Siemens, most of them, I think every device now has 2 Ethernet ports. They are not separate IP addresses, but they are just switched. So what you can do is you can daisy chain your Ethernet cables and just create a ring, so it helps out. Let's go ahead and look at all the IO card options. So if I look for my digital modules, here are my digital inputs, outputs. So let's go ahead and look at the inputs. So I have an 8-channel input and a 16-channel input. And you can see there is some information here. So there is more description. And then on the bottom, there is options to the Siemens tech support site. So if I click this, it will take me to the tech support for this product. And if I click this, it will take me to the tech support, but it will sort it out for all the certificates. So if you guys are looking for any certificates or drawings, this is also easier to find it. Let's go ahead and let's add our digital input card. Sorry. Double click, it will put it up to the slot. Let's look for a digital output card now. So if I go under digital output, I have an 8-channel and 16-channel, and then regular 24-volt DC or relay card. Also, what you can do is you can drag and drop stuff. So I can drag it up here. And let's say I want to drag this one up, and I'm like, I want it in slot number 5. So I can do that. And I'm like, oh no, I changed my mind. I wanted a slot number 4. So you can drag and drop stuff. Also, in case if you edit stuff and you're like, oh, I want to move it back to 5, or if you have a bunch of cards, so let's say you want to add one input card here, you can do is move modules to the right. So now it gave us an empty spot. I can go back to my inputs and I can add an 8-channel input. All right, so let me delete it for a second. What's nice are these digital IO cards. So it has input and outputs on one single card. So I can pick that and bring it up here. Next, let's say we want some analog, and this is what I mentioned. So if you look under the failsafe IO cards, everything is grayed out. So if you get this and you're like, hey, why can't I add this? The reason is you have to go back to the properties page and change it from here to failsafe application, right? Now it gave me an error because the CPU is not failsafe, so I can't do that. So let's go back to my configure page. And you can see here it shows you if there is an error or it's error free. So if I do this and say move to the right, it will tell me there is one message and it's pretty much saying no gaps are allowed. And if I go to project view, you can see there is like you can do undo and redo and copy paste just like we can do before with our other software. So again, just go back. Let's look at our analog modules. So I have analog inputs, 4-channel, 8-channel. There is a 4-channel 16-bit modules for RTD and thermocouple. Let's go ahead and add an 8-channel analog input. I will add an 8-channel RTD input. Let's add an 8-channel thermocouple input also. Let's look at some analog output cards, and I can add a 4-channel analog output card. So pretty much I added a lot of cards and the system is full. The next tab is limits. So this is useful. One more thing on this configure tab is on the top, you can see it also shows you the dimension. So it tells me my system right now is 540 millimeters. Let's go to the limit. So it will tell us what's the number of IO cards, what is the backend bus right now, what do I need for my rail, what is the memory, and then how many inputs and outputs I did. So 46 inputs, 56 outputs, 26 analog in and 6 out. And then power supply, I need 2.42 amps just for all the IO cards and the PLC to power up. Engineering software, this is nice. So if I go to the engineering software tab, I can add software. System knows the software is step 7. So I can select that and hit apply. And you will see on this left-hand side, now I got another tab for step 7 software. If I go to configure, here's all the PLC options. So we know that it's a 1200. No, we don't need a safety CPU. Pretty much the red box is what it's looking for your attention. So do you have the software or you don't have the software? No, I don't have any software. I'm starting from scratch. How do you want it? Download or DVD? I will select DVD. One more, it's a SUS. So SUS is software update service. It's a 1-year subscription. It is optional, but I highly recommend to add this when you buy the software. You can only add it when you buy the software. So what it does is it gives you free upgrades for a year. So let's say you buy version 16 now, and then within a few months, version 17 is released. Then Siemens will just give it to you for free. So it's a 1-year contract. It's optional again, but I like to add it. So there was our 1200 and then the basic software. So let's say in case I have a 1500 CPU, so I'll select 1500, and you will notice it changed from basic to professional. So right here, step 7 basic, 1 checkbox, and everything is now professional. So let's go ahead and add a new device. I'm going to go back to controllers. And this time I'm going to add advanced controller. Let's go ahead and select our 1500 CPU. Again, the same options here. So I'm going to jump directly to configure tab. Here are all the options, 15, 11, 13, 15, 17, and 18. So I usually like the 1515 CPU because as you can notice, it has like 3 Ethernet ports. So on this one, it is nice. One of them is a different IP address and these two are a different IP address. So all your Profinet devices can be on this two on the right hand side. And then if you want to send data to IT or SCADA or an MES system, you can use the left side port and use that as a separate subnet. So your automation is isolated. And then 1516 is nice because it has Profibus. So if in case you have a Profibus application, then it has Profibus built in. So double click, it will ask us. And I usually keep everything default. The nice thing about 1500 is this OPC UA. So it's built in, that's a communication protocol. It's an open protocol and a lot of devices use OPC UA now. So let's add a OPC UA license and then it will ask us standard. So do you want just DVD shipped it to you or you want a download version? I'll just do the standard version. The other thing here is for the 1500, if you select and click on this 100, so see how it changed on this right hand side. So it's like, it knows it's cursor sensitive. So wherever you have it clicked, things will change on the right hand side, just like it changes in TI portal. So there is different power supply options. So there's a good thing about this power supply that I usually put it in. It's got a little toggle switch. So in case you want to just power cycle your PLC and not have anything else lose power, then you can just toggle this switch and 24 volt to the CPU and the IO cards will reset. And then you can reset your CPU. And I think I made a mistake. I selected a safety CPU. So let's go ahead and just select the right CPU. And it's standard. See how it was yellow? That's how I knew that it was a safety CPU. So all the input and output cards again, there is a 32 channel and 16 channel card, and there is a new 64 channel card now. So if you guys are interested in a 64 channel card on a single IO card, then there is an option for 1500 now. Let's go ahead and just select a 32 channel card. And again, as soon as I double click, it will give me all the options for all my accessories. So in case I need a modular system cable, so I can have a little ribbon cable go to my terminals. So all my sensors and field devices are just wired to the terminals and I don't touch the PLC. We have that option, or it comes pre-wired. So there is a different cable length. It is all UL rated. So make sure you select this one and not the regular one. And then you have different options of all 40 wires just pre-wired to these terminals. Or to keep it simple, there is just simple plain front connectors. And then the good thing about 1500 is these connectors are same, whether you have analog inputs, digital inputs, temperature, there's only two kinds, screw or push-in, right? So I'll select the push-in one, hit okay. The other feature right here is, let's say I know I need 50 digital inputs, right? Then there's an option here for multiple items. So if I select multiple items and click on 50 and hit apply, it will do the math for me and add one more card, right? Let's go ahead and look at digital outputs. So let's say I want a 16 channel card now, and then I'll say, okay, I need 50 outputs and hit apply. So it added 3 cards. Let's go ahead and look at all the analog options. The nice thing about analog is it's one card for voltage, current, RTD, thermocouple. And then instead of V for voltage, it's all U, so just a side note. Double click, it added the card. Also I can do is I can copy, paste, analog output card. There's an 8-channel card, so let's add an 8-channel card. And then if I go to multiple items, and if I know I need like 3 cards, I can do it from here also. Just type in 3 cards and it will add that. Okay, so here, there is an error. So it tells me that, hey, internal power output is insufficient for the backplane bus. You need to add a power supply. So it didn't allow me to add these cards. So see, stuff like this is useful. Is if you do the IO count, you're like, okay, I have everything. But when you power it up, the system doesn't run fine. It's like, what's the issue? So this is the issue, right? So if I go into my system power supplies, here's my power supply. So now I can add that. And now I can copy this, paste, no problem, paste, no errors. And you can see there are some 6 messages, it's warnings, it's no errors. And then you can see your complete system here. And if you click on messages, it will tell us that the power supply, so the one that we have in the front, so we added a 3 amp one, it's not enough for all the IO cards. So see, I changed it to 8 amps, now the message is gone. And then if you want to just hide the message, just select do not show this kind of message again. So it's just giving you some information. So it says there is a different data type. I'll say, okay, do not display again. Analog module, just make sure of the temperature ratings. Okay, I acknowledge. And then 24-volt DC load. So all your solenoids, relays, or anything else that you want to run outside, it's a separate power supply. Okay. So here is our 1500 system. Let's go ahead and now add a IO system. So ED200SP, so that's the remote IO option. So let's go ahead and select ED200SP, and that's how it looks. I will go into configure. And the reason I want to show you this is the bus adapter, the base units for it. So there's different options for different cards. So here are all the interface modules. So pretty much is the communication module head that's going to talk to our main PLC. BA stands for basic, ST is standard, HS is high speed, and HF is high feature. So high feature is a lot of features for diagnostics. If you want to save some money, I recommend going with standard. The basic is very bare minimum and very least diagnostic. So I'll start with standard. Again, it will tell me all accessories. So I need an RJ45 card. Do you need the tool? No, it's okay. And then click OK. Different options for inputs and outputs. So there is a 16-channel card on this. So it's pretty nice. It's slim and 16 channels. So now there is more IO than the older ET200S. Let's double click and it will tell me what kind of base unit I want. So there are 2 kinds of base unit, the white ones and the gray ones. White one is needed for every 10 amps. So on the bottom, you will see this red and blue. So you have to power this pretty much the cards and the backplane, right? So every 10 amps, you need to bring in a 24-volt DC. So that's why every 10 amps, you need this white one. So I will select OK. And then let's add another one. And you will notice it added a gray one automatically. Because for the inputs, we are not going to use much of anything for power for 24-volt DC because there's no solenoids or any load, right? So let's go ahead and now look at our digital outputs. Let's see a 16-channel card. So I'll double click and see how it also automatically added white. So if I want to change it, I can right click and say change accessories. So there's options. Do you want to configure a new group? This means white one. If I say forwarding of the potential group, that means I'm going to take 24-volt DC from the group in front. So all the IO cards that are there in front, then just use the gray one. So I'll do a new group, hit OK. Same options, we can copy or go multiple items. So let's go ahead and look at analog inputs. Let's say I want, let's see right here, 4-channel voltage and current, 2-wire standard. So double click, okay. So what I usually like to do is I like to create a new group for like inputs, outputs, analog inputs, and analog outputs. So at least I know, okay, white means different sections. So I'll say, okay. The one important thing on this one is this RTD and thermocouple card. So when you click that, you can select new or forwarding, but you want to make sure that you select this temperature right there. So there is different ones here. So you can see there's 5 different options, but make sure you select the one with the temperature. And then there is 2 in feeds and 12 in feeds. So what that does is just add some more terminals. So they're all just jumpered together. So you have like 10 more wires. So if you want to bring in your 24 volt or 0 volts in, and then all of them would become the same, whatever wire you bring in. So let's go ahead and do 12 in feed, and I'll click OK. So that was our analog input cards. There are communication cards, technology modules for counting, Profibus cards, point-to-point I/O link, and we're gonna, I think Akshay and Bill are gonna talk about I/O link in the end. Aussie, they're still there, Aussie. So all the options are still there. Let's go ahead and add an HMI. So if I go under panels, here are all the HMIs I have. Again, I like this. So if I need a basic panel, 7-inch, 12-inch, 4-inch. So that's how it's all numbered. Unified panels. So these are the new panels. So these are pretty nice. It's got multi-touch screens. Starts at 7-inch up to 22-inch. Comfort panels, 7-inch to 22-inch, and there is ones with the keypads. Comfort panel pros. So if you want a panel by itself and you can just mount it on a little tube or a flange mount. There are some key panels. These are pretty nice. It's just function key kind of design. Mobile panels, so they are tethered, but they are the same design, and the size of the screen is actually same as comfort panels. So if you have a 7-inch comfort panel and you want to migrate to a mobile panel, you can use this, right? So let's go ahead and look at unified panels, and I'll say, okay, give me a 7-inch panel. So this is how it looks. That's the part number. I'll jump to accessories. So if I want to add a memory card or screen protector or little connectors for that I lost for my power supply, then I can look it up from here. So here is the 2-pin connector for power supply for the HMI. Options. So if you need any licenses, okay, I want the Edge license. Engineering software. So you can hit OK, WinCC, apply. So I can go to WinCC, configure. So what kind of panel do we want? So right now, comfort panel license works for unified. So I think that's why they didn't update this. And then no, I don't have my software. And I want the DVD version. And I want the SUS by email. So there it is. So now I have my software for my HMI, my software for my PLC. I added an HMI. I added 2 PLCs, 1200 and 1500, and a remote IO. So if I want to look at, okay, what are my parts list, I can go to the order list tab here, and then make sure you group it by device right here, or however you guys like it. So default, I think, is article summary, so everything comes in one. But if you group it here, it's nice and easy to look at. So here's all my D200SP stuff. Here's all my 1200 stuff. Here's all my 1500 stuff. Step 7 software, unified panels, and then my software for the HMI. And then there is an option for exporting here. So if you click export and create an Excel, you can just create an Excel sheet. Put it on desktop. And on the other screen, let me drag it. So here is my complete parts list. Okay, so this is easy to do. You guys can generate an Excel sheet, use it for your bombs, or email us, or you can even email this file. And a lot of customers, I just create this file for them and then send them this file. So like if you want to just change one IO card, you can easily go to configure, select it, and change it out. The one last thing that I wanted to show, but the virtual machine's not running. So there's an option to export stuff. So once you have this configuration, you can export this to TIA portal and then select the version of TIA portal and create an export file. And then what you can do is inside TIA portal, go to import and then input this file, and then it will bring all your hardware, the whole system, and it will just bring it up, so you don't have to do anything in the iPortal side. All right, that's what I was going to show you today. Hope it